Chuck Negron, the legendary voice behind some of the most recognizable songs of the 1970s, passed away on February 2, 2026, at the age of 83. According to confirmed reports from his representatives and family, Negron died peacefully at his home in California after battling heart failure with long-term health complications that included chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. His death marked the end of a long, turbulent, and deeply influential life in American rock music. For millions of fans, Chuck Negron was not just a singer. He was a voice tied to memories, radios, car rides, and a specific era when rock music felt both raw and universal. As the lead vocalist of Three Dog Night, Negron helped define the sound of the early 1970s, delivering emotionally charged performances that turned simple songs into lasting anthems. Born on June 8, 1942 in New York City, Chuck Negron grew up in a working-class environment far removed from the stages and spotlights he would later command. Music became his refuge early in life. Influenced by rhythm and blues, soul and rock, he developed a vocal style that was powerful yet vulnerable. That combination would later become his signature. In the late 1960s, Negron co-founded Three Dog Night, a band that would soon become one of the most successful American groups of its time. What made the band unique was its vocal structure. Instead of relying on a single frontman, Three Dog Night featured three lead singers, with Negron often handling the most emotionally intense material. From 1969 through the mid-1970s, the band dominated the charts. Songs like Joy to the World, One, Mama Told Me Not to Come, and Black and White became massive hits. During that period, Three Dog Night placed more songs in the Billboard Top 40 than almost any other band. Negron's voice, soaring and unmistakable, was central to that success. On stage, he projected confidence and power. Offstage, however, his life was unraveling. Like many artists of that era, Negron struggled with severe drug addiction. Fame, constant touring, and the pressures of success pushed him deeper into substance abuse, which slowly took control of his life. By the mid-1970s, internal tensions within the band, exhaustion, and addiction problems contributed to the breakup of Three Dog Night in 1976. For Negron, the collapse of the band marked the beginning of his darkest chapter. In the years that followed, his addiction worsened. He lost financial stability, relationships, and professional momentum. At his lowest point, Negron experienced homelessness and isolation, far removed from the arenas he once filled. Many people who followed his career during this period assumed he would not survive. Those assumptions later fueled years of false death rumors. In reality, Negron was fighting for his life. In the late 1980s, he entered recovery and committed himself to sobriety. That decision became the turning point of his life. He remained sober for decades, openly speaking about his addiction and recovery in interviews, books, and public appearances. Rather than hiding his past, he used it as a warning and a message of hope. Negron slowly rebuilt his career as a solo performer. While legal disputes limited his ability to perform under the Three Dog Night name for many years, his voice remained closely tied to the band's legacy. Fans continued to associate him with the songs that defined their youth. His personal life reflected both instability and growth. Chuck Negron was married several times over the course of his life. Many of his early relationships were affected by addiction and the chaos of fame. In his later years, he found greater peace and stability. He was a father and had children from previous relationships, though he consistently kept his family out of the public spotlight. After achieving sobriety, Negron often spoke about the importance of accountability and responsibility, values that became central to his identity later in life. Financially, the Negron story was far from the rock star fantasy many imagined. Despite Three Dog Night's enormous success, poor contracts, management issues, and addiction meant that much of his early earnings disappeared. By the time he reached rock bottom, most of his wealth was gone. In recovery, he rebuilt his finances gradually. Through touring, royalties, speaking engagements, and book sales, Negron established a stable living. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was believed to be in the range of $3 to $5 million. It was not the fortune many fans expected, but it reflected a life rebuilt with intention rather than excess. In his later years, Negron lived a relatively quiet lifestyle. Health, sobriety, and peace of mind mattered more to him than luxury. And he performed selectively and spent much of his time away from constant media attention. As he aged, health issues became more prominent. Reports confirmed that he struggled with heart-related problems and chronic lung disease in his final years. On February 2, 2026, those health battles came to an end when he died peacefully at home, surrounded by family. News of his death triggered an immediate response from fans around the world. Tributes poured in, not only celebrating his music but acknowledging his survival story. Many fans spoke about how his voice had accompanied them through decades of their lives, while others highlighted the honesty with which he spoke about addiction and recovery. Chuck Negron's legacy is layered. On one level, he will always be remembered as the voice behind some of the biggest hits of the 1970s. On another, he stands as a symbol of redemption. He lived through extreme fame, devastating collapse, and a long, hard recovery. Unlike many of his peers, Negron lived long enough to tell his story himself. He faced his past publicly and took responsibility for it. That honesty earned him respect far beyond his musical achievements. As Three Dog Night's songs continue to play on radio, in films, and across streaming platforms, Chuck Negron's voice remains alive in the culture. His passing closes a chapter, but the music and the story endure. Chuck Negron did not leave quietly. He left behind a voice that shaped a generation and a life story that proved survival is sometimes the greatest legacy of all.